Hello everyone, Mike back with another Magic the Gathering deck video. Today I went to the Aether Revolt pre-release. This is going to be a video on the deck I used in the pre-release. I have it right here. We're going to take a look at the deck and I'm going to discuss some of the strategy I used when making the deck. So the first thing we're going to do is just look at our lands. This is a red and green deck, so I am using 10 mountains. Then I have 7 forests. We're going to move up into our artifacts. I'm running 1 decoction module, cost 2. Whenever a creature enters a battlefield under your control, you get an energy. You can also pay 4 mana, tap it, and return target creature you control to its owner's hand. We're running 2 Implement of Combustion. 1 mana, it's an artifact, has the ability to pay red, sacrifice it, it deals 1 damage to target player. When Implement of Combustion is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So this will allow me to get card draw as red, and it will also allow me to trigger Revolt as well. We're running 1 Mobile Garrison. 3 for a 3/4 artifact. It's a vehicle. When it attacks, untap another target artifact or creature you control, and it accrues on 2. We were running 2 Untethered Express. It's 4 for a 4/4 with trample, and whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it, and it accrues on 1. And finally, our last artifact, we have 1 Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. 2 mana. When it enters a battlefield, you gain 3 life, you get 3 energy. Then pay 2 and a green to sacrifice it. You gain 3 life and gain 3 energy. We're going to move into our creatures. Have 1 Aegeus Automaton. 2 mana for a 0/3. I wasn't using the white ability, but this was a very good blocker. So has 4 and a white, return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. We weren't using that ability on it. Running 2 Aether Chaser. 1 in a red for a 2/1 with first strike. When it enters a battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact token. We had 1 Lightning Runner, 3 and 2 red for a 2/2 with double strike and haste. Whenever it attacks, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 8 energy. If you pay that, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. So essentially, it goes into something like a relentless assault style thing where you get to take another attack step. Running 1 Rishkar Pima Renegade. 2 and a green for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, and each creature you control with a counter on it has the ability to tap to add green to your mana pool. We had 1 Scrounging Bandar, 1 and a green for a 0/0. Enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of 1/1 counters from it to another creature. I used this to make another creature stronger, and also was able to trigger Revolt. I put 2 counters on this on something else, and then when my end step happened, since something had left the battlefield, I was able to get a Revolt trigger. And finally, we also have 2 Silkweaver Elite. It's 2 and a green for a 2/2 with Reach, and has Revolt as well. So when it enters the battlefield, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, draw a card. Running a couple enchantments. So I have 1 aid from the Cowl, 3 and 2 green. Revolt at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of your library. I had this trigger a couple times. I got a land out of it, and one time I got a creature out of it. So it's a pretty cool way to get stuff out essentially for free. I was able to basically, like I said, move the counters off of the Bandar onto something else, turning a 2/2 into a 4/4, and then at the end of my turn, I was able to trigger Revolt off of this. And we have 1 Siege Modifications, 1 and 2 red. Enchant creature or vehicle. As long as enchanted permanent is a vehicle, it's a creature in addition to its other types. Enchanted creature gets +3/+0 and has first strike. So what I did, basically this makes it so you don't have to crew your vehicles, or the vehicle that it's enchanting, basically, it becoming a creature means it's basically been crewed. So I was able to attack with other creatures that I normally would have to tap to crew the vehicle, and then it gets +3/+0 and also first strike. Moving into our instance, I have 2 Invigorated Rampage, 1 in a red, choose one. Target creature gets +4/+0 and gains trample until the end of turn, or 2 creatures get +2/+0 and gain trample until the end of turn. I was able to use this on one of my turns to pump up one of my vehicles quite a bit. It had siege modification on it already, so then it basically became +7/+0 at that point. And finally, in our instance we have 1 shock. Really, I'm happy to see this card again. 1 red instant deals 2 damage to target creature or player. One game somebody played a creature, and I basically immediately responded to it with shock and got rid of it. And finally, we have our sorceries. I have 1 destructive tampering, 2 in a red. Choose 1, destroy target artifact, or creatures without flying can't block this turn. I was able to get this off a couple times, and I actually did use both of the abilities. There was one guy had an artifact out that essentially gave +1 counters to whatever creature type he chose. So I destroyed that. In one turn, I came across a guy playing with a few servos, and I basically played this, made it so the servos couldn't block, and swung. We have 2 Prey Upon, 1 green. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control, and they deal their power to each other. I used it to get rid of a couple creatures. I used it, I crewed a vehicle, and then used this to. It was only like a 2/2 I was fighting, but basically I just wanted to get rid of it, so I used this and had my vehicle fight it. It was like a 4/4 at that point, defeating a 2/2. I have 1 Release the Gremlins, so it costs X, X, and red, and it's destroy X artifacts and create X 2/2 red gremlin tokens. And finally, I have 1 Wrangle, 1 in a red for a sorcery, gain control of target creature, power 4 or less until the end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until the end of turn. So I basically use this to, steal creatures and that kind of thing. I was able to swing with a couple creatures with it this way, and I was also able to take a creature that was power 4 or less and then pump it up with Invigorated Rampage as well. So that was pretty cool. But basically, we're running stuff to get energy, so I can use the lightning runner. I had the lightning runner out, but never had to use the 8 mana ability. I also really liked the Aether Chasers. Having 2 of them was nice because they were a 2/1 with first strike that gains energy. So a lot of times I was able to go up against another creature that was the same power, but since it had first strike, I was able to take them out. And the Silkweaver Elite I really like as well. So 2/2 with reach for 3, and get a draw a card if something left the battlefield. So this was a pretty fun deck. I started my day out with red and white. In first game I didn't win, so I took all the white out and went with green. And green ended up being a lot better for me. So that's it for this quick Aether Revolt pre-release video. I'll leave the deck list will be in the description. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.